You're listening to the NABS Now podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Blind Students, a proud division of the National Federation of the Blind.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the NABS Now podcast. I'm your host Nina, and since we are in the month of February now, which is crazy to believe, we are doing an episode all about living your life with love. So that involves relationships, friendships, family, and all different kinds of love. We are going to be interviewing a very special Federation couple, as well as giving you all some tips for safe online dating. I'm actually going to turn this episode over to Elizabeth, Seyoon, and Kenia now, so they can talk to you about living your life with love, and I hope you guys really enjoy this episode.
Hey listeners, Seyoon here, one of your NABS Outreach Committee co-chair, here to start you off with a few safety tips as you go out on a date. First, let a trusted friend or family member know where you'll be, who you'll be with, and the time that you're estimated to return from your date. Be sure to call in and check in with that person once you get home. Learn self-defense techniques so that you're better prepared to protect yourself if in case of an attack. Check to see if there are any free self-defense courses offered on campus. And finally, know the locations and phone numbers of your local emergency stations, so you can quickly find the help if you're in a dangerous situation. Stay alert throughout the episode to hear more important safety tips.
First things first, I want to thank Norma and Glenn Crosby for joining us today. We're so excited on NABS Now to get to know you and for you to get to know some of our listeners, hopefully, in the future. So we're just going to kick it off, and I'm going to start by having both of you introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, anything you want to share with us.
Sure. So I'll start. So I'm Norma Crosby. I serve as president of the National Federation of the Blind of Texas. I worked many jobs when I was younger. We're both now retired from our family business. We owned a food service business for many years. I acted as the office manager for that business and dealt with all the administrative tasks associated with it. And now I'm enjoying being a retired grandma.
I love that. That's awesome. Glenn, how about you?
And I'm Glenn Crosby, and I grew up here on the Texas Gulf Coast and been here for most of my life. I've wandered around a few states, but I have been in the National Federation of the Blind since 1967, and I served here as the NFB of Texas president, and I also served on our national board for a while. I've had many jobs inside the organization, and as Norma said that we enjoyed owning our own business for quite a number of years.
Yeah, and I neglected to mention that I also currently sit on our national board.
Yes, Norma and I have had the pleasure of national representing the students and the national group at large a couple different times. So we bumped into each other a time or two.
And I've had the honor of mentoring Elizabeth as a scholarship winner.
Yes, good times. That was the first time I met you and Glenn. So everyone, Norma and Glenn are the best breakfast dates in the world. So go bump into them sometime. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for those introductions. And I'm sure we're going to fill in lots of blanks in the next few minutes here. So next, I'd love for the two of you to tag team a little bit and tell us the story of how you met.
Sure. So we met first, as I recall. We'll see what Glenn remembers. My recollection is that we first met in 1982. That was my first year of being a part of the NFB, and I attended my first convention that year in Minneapolis. And I didn't know my state affiliate president at that time because I was a brand new member. I'd only been a member for about 3 months. And I met Glenn at that convention.
Okay. Glenn,
So yes, we did meet there at that convention. And I was the affiliate president at the time, which means that I had a number of obligations having to do with dealing with convention and so on. However, one of the obligations is or I think it is at least, of the affiliate president is to try to make new folks, newcomers, welcome. And so I and others in the affiliate tried to make Norma feel welcome, and we tried to show her around, see to it that she attended the meetings that she wanted to, and so on. Anyway, we must have done a good job because here she is.
I am here. Absolutely. And they absolutely did make me feel welcome, and they put me to work right away. And I think that was one of the secrets to forming actually the relationship that I later formed with Glenn. It began really with a lot of working together and a lot of taking on federation tasks. I'm kind of a volunteer at heart. And so I would go and say, Glenn, I think we should do whatever it might have been that I thought we should do at the time. And not only that, I'll do it. And most affiliate presidents, I can tell you now that I am one, love it when someone volunteers to do work. And so he allowed me pretty free rein and gave me a lot of opportunities to develop my confidence as a young blind woman, and was a real mentor to me, along with developing eventually a personal relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. I love the kind of from your first convention to where you are now element too. It really shows that you don't have to know anything about the NFB to start out and grow into the leader that a lot of us have the pleasure of becoming in the Federation. So that's incredible that that's a part of your story together. So thank you.
I too think that a number of our members feel like you have to be in an elected position to be a leader, and that just isn't true. Just demonstrate leadership in all the various ways that you might be able to, and trust me, eventually, and very often it isn't that long, you will be elected to some position.
Mm-hmm. We can't all be born presidents. You're right.
We cannot.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So clearly you two met through the NFB, which is unique to your relationship and so many others of our members. My next question kind of then builds off of what we've learned with you all so far. What was dating like for you from that beginning professional relationship to a eventual personal relationship?
Well, because of our group activities in the National Federation of the Blind, very often after a day's work, some of us in small groups would go and have dinner together. And so, of course, that would include Norma from time to time. And over a period of time, we began to find ways of having dinner and participating in other activities without groups. So that's kind of how it all unfolded.
We really did have what I regard, I know this podcast that you guys are doing is all about dating, and we really did have what I regard as a non-traditional kind of dating, in the sense that he didn't start out by saying, hey, let's go, have dinner together. It really did start out in groups. And I actually have noticed that, or I did when our children were younger. I noticed that seems to be more traditional than it once was. That my kids, I know for sure, also did. I found that they did that quite a lot, where they hung out with their friends, and then eventually they would kind of pair off, and that's definitely what happened with us too. And so we were friends, and we were able to work together, and so we found out pretty quickly that we were compatible, and it worked out well, whether we had lots of dates, where it was just us, or whether it was in groups. We were still able to develop that kind of relationship where we moved beyond friendship into a more personal relationship.
Absolutely. You guys are a true testament to the notion that friendship is the start of so many successful relationships. It's always been interesting to me to know people who instantly started dating as opposed to being friends first, because I think, you end up dating your best friend anyway. That's kind of how it works. It all falls together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I love that.
Hey y'all, my name is Kenia and I serve as First Vice President of NABS. I'm going to be sharing a few tips to keep you safe while on a date. Always keep your phone charged and nearby at all times. Never go on a date in an unfamiliar area if at all possible. And don't share personal information, including your address or financial information, with someone that you don't know.
So, obviously, you guys share a lot of common interests, both in your professional lives, your NFB experiences, but how do you maintain separate interests while also kind of finding ways to prioritize time together? And that can be in the start of your relationship, that can be yesterday, that can be whenever.
One of the ways we manage to find separate interests is that Glenn is a morning person. And when I say morning, because of many years of running a food service business where you had to start out early to get everything set up and established for the day, he's up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning still. And that is not me. I get up as early as I have to do my work and no earlier. So I'm an evening person. I'm more likely to stay up until midnight. And so we actually, because of that difference, we find some time alone to get done whatever we want to get done. And we definitely do have some interests that are the same and some that are different. For example, Glenn does not really love technology, and I am a self-taught technology user. I'm not great, but it's something that has an interest, holds an interest for me. So having that time alone, where even though we're together a lot, we get to sort of swim in our own pool, so to speak, works out for us.
Okay, that is really interesting. I bet it kind of gives you the opportunity to not only spend time to yourselves and with yourselves, but it also makes the time that you do get to spend together that much more special.
Absolutely.
And I also I have a variety of tools out in the garage and just about as many unfinished projects.
True, that's true.
And so occasionally I get banished to the garage. It gives Norma a little more space, or gives us both a little more space.
Or he might banish to the fishing boat as well. He and the boys love to fish, and so they go fishing whenever they get a chance to do it. And I'm happy to go out on the boat sometimes, but I'm not the fisher person.
That is totally fair. My parents are actually the same way. My dad loves to fish, and I am the child who will get up at 4 a.m. and go with him if he can guarantee me that I don't have to touch the bait, I don't have to touch the hook, and I don't have to touch the fish. So I am very much the princess in charge of reeling in all of the good fish.
There you go. Absolutely. Awesome. I did catch 2 sharks at one time once. So.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Has ever done.
Well, she just thought she had to show out that day. And the sharks cooperated.
They did.
Hey, I bet they were definitely not paid for their part. So you are those sharks. That's awesome. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the time that you two spend together and apart and how that kind of balances out. So I'm very curious to know if there has been an impact on your relationship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. What's that been like? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? What's the result?
Well, I don't know if you would say it's positive or negative. When we worked together, we spent quite a bit of time together doing various things related to our business. So we were kind of used to that. But over the last few years, since I've been president of the NFB of Texas, we have spent actually more time apart in the sense that our affiliate has an office, and during that time, during my time as president, I spend a good bit of time at the office during the day, so we have spent more time apart. And so the pandemic has actually kind of brought us back together in a way, which I never view as a bad thing, to get to spend time with my friends. So that's kind of my take on how the pandemic has affected our relationship. Glenn may have a different view.
It certainly hasn't been positive or negative on our relationship, but for the two of us together, it certainly has isolated us from our friends and our kids and our grandchildren, and that's unusual. But we try to maintain contact through phone and Zoom and all these other ways. But it's we can endure it together because we're fine being together.
Yeah, and I think that is a positive. I know that some people are alone very often because of the pandemic, and it's definitely a positive to have someone who cares about you to be there for you during the pandemic. So that's definitely been a positive.
That's awesome. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I don't think I've asked this yet. How many kids and grandkids do you guys have?
We have 4 children and 7 grandchildren.
Okay, so big family. I bet you're going to be really excited to get back to the in-person gatherings for birthdays and holidays when we get back to a more normal semblance of reality.
We absolutely are looking forward to it, and it'll be a great day once the pandemic settles down and people aren't fearful of becoming so ill and all of those things that are associated with it.
Absolutely.
Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth, your NABS Treasurer and Outreach Committee Co-Chair, here to share just a few more safety tips with our NABS Now listeners. First, utilize group or double dates if you're going out with someone for the first time. Group dates are the perfect way to get to know someone better while being in a safe and comfortable situation. Next, always keep an eye on your drinks and food. Stay alert and never leave either unattended. Finally, never invite anyone into your home that you do not trust or know. NABS Now would like to thank ADT.com for these dating in college safety tips, and we hope everyone has a wonderful and safe Valentine's Day.
All right, well, we are going to move on to my surprise question. This was not on the list that I sent to you all originally. And Glenn, I'm going to have you kick us off this time. So I want you to tell our NABS Now listeners, what is your favorite thing about Norma? A quality, a personality trait, something she does? What's the thing that stands out to you most about Norma?
Well, there's so many, but one thing is she's always in a good mood, and she likes to hum around the house and sing some, and I enjoy all of that. And she's very easy to get along with. We have almost no disagreements. We do have differences of opinion, but what I'm saying is that we're never at odds with one another.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He forgot to add that I feed him every day too. I think that's actually his favorite thing about me.
I love that. All right, Norma, same question to you. Favorite thing or a thing that stands out the most about Glenn?
So my favorite thing about Glenn is his kindness and his generosity with other people, but the special care that he takes of me in so many situations, whether it's related to making sure I stay healthy, or one of the examples I always give people of Glenn and how he always thinks of me is, we were in a hotel. I think it was a Federation event because there were a lot of blind guys around, and the hotel fire alarm went off, and so I had gone up to our room before he did. He was still sitting somewhere talking to some other folks, and so I called the front desk, and they said, yes, you absolutely have to evacuate. So I had gotten up and gotten dressed, was headed down the stairs, and I could hear people like a flight or so down saying, sir, you're going the wrong way. And of course, a blind guy wouldn't know that up is not down. But anyway, he came up. It was Glenn, of course, and he came up the stairs, and we met each other on the stairs. And I said, "Turn around." And of course, as soon as he knew I was okay, he did. But he was not leaving the hotel until he knew for sure that I had gotten out. He wasn't going to take the chance that I didn't. And so that, to me, says all there is to say about the kind of relationship that we have. We both try to take care of each other, but he always takes care of me.
I absolutely would not evacuate without knowing that she would be safe.
Yeah. It's always interesting when the question is posed, if your house was burning, what are the 3 things that you'd save? And I find it really interesting that people always stipulate, okay, your pets and your family are out, because I mean, that's what we'd grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd grab our people and our pets. So awesome. Well, that is really, really great to hear. I think the qualities that you two admire in each other are things that a lot of our listeners and our podcast team can also learn from to aim toward many, many years of happiness. How long have the two of you, obviously I know you said earlier you met in 82, if my brain is doing me justice, but how long have you two been married?
Let's see, do you know?
Yes, I do know.
This is a test for Glenn, actually.
She likes to do this to me, but this spring we will enjoy our 32nd anniversary.
That is correct. We got married on tax day, so he wouldn't forget it.
I love that. That's a really good way.
We will celebrate it in style.
I love it. That's great. All right. So in your 32, almost 32 years of marriage, do you have any specific advice, or I'm not going to call them secrets, but things that you've discovered over the years that really help you to fundamentally connect and stay successful and moving forward in your relationship?
So I'll start as usual. I'll jump in. But for me, I think the biggest takeaway about relationships is, if you want your relationship to last, you should pick a person that you don't feel like you have to change, because that never works out. You can, people grow over the years, obviously, and hopefully mature and become the best them they can be. But if you really date or marry a person in hopes that you can change them and make them be what you want them to be, then you're probably with the wrong person. You have to love the person for who they are. And by the way, I don't think we've discussed this as blind people, but I would say you also have to determine that you should love who you love. It's whether it's another blind person because you have the same interests, or whether it's a sighted person that you have the same interests with. Your relationship should be about who you love, and that's who you should be with, whether they be blind or sighted. And for us, our connection to the Federation and to blindness causes that affect other blind people helped us to connect. And so that's probably why we ended up together. But the same would have been true if I had met the right sighted member who was interested in the same things I am. And so those are the two things I think for me.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Norma. It's our responsibility to love each other where we're at and not where we want someone to be or where we think they can be. So that's really important to remember. How about you, Glenn? Anything to add in our last few minutes?
Most everybody have differences. We have different strengths, different whatever. Okay, so I would encourage everybody to appreciate those differences rather than trying to change them or whatever. So we want to celebrate the differences that we have with the people we love.
Yeah, we're quite different. We're very different people. We don't think the same. And I think that's a strength for our marriage because it helps us to look at things from more than one direction. And that helps us, I think, to figure out the best route for us to take in any situation.
Absolutely. The age-old phrase, opposites attract, doesn't always have to be true, but sometimes the things that we don't necessarily share can bring us even closer together. We can learn from each other and we can grow together, but in different ways.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I know that our listeners are going to love getting to know both of you. And I would encourage anyone and everyone who listens to this interview to wait until we're back in person and go say hi to Glenn and Norma. They are incredibly approachable, kind, sincere people, and they'd love to say hi, right, guys?
Absolutely. Don't be a stranger. Let us get to know you.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you so much to our special guests, Norma and Glenn Crosby, as well as Kenia, Seyoon, and Elizabeth for making this episode happen. I hope you all enjoyed all of the great information we had to offer today, and go forth and live your life with love.